Good morning, everybody. Let me tell you something. People may not say it to your face, but they secretly envy you. Oh, yes, they do. They might smile. They might even act like they don't notice, but deep down, they see something in you that shakes them up. Everybody has something special inside them, something nobody else in this world can do quite like you. That's not just talk, that's real. See, when you were created, you were given a specific set of talents, skills, and qualities that make you one of a kind. But here's the thing, not everyone has the courage to use what they've been given. Some people bury their gifts under fear, doubt, and the opinions of others. They let the world convince them they ain't special, but not you. You've tapped into something that's yours, something that makes you stand out. And that's why people secretly envy you, because when you step into your gift, when you start operating in your purpose, it reminds people of what they're not doing. It forces them to look at the dreams they gave up on, the talents they never developed, the risks they were too scared to take. And instead of facing that truth, instead of using that as motivation, some people choose to be envious. They look at you and think, why do they get to shine? But the answer is simple. You were willing to do what they wouldn't. You put in the work. You took the leap. You weren't afraid to be different, to stand out, to go against the grain. And when people see that, it stirs something inside them. Some will be inspired by it, but others will resent it. That's just how it goes. But you can't spend your life worrying about how people feel about your gift. You can't shrink yourself just to make them comfortable. Your job is to use what you've been given to the fullest. Because when you embrace your uniqueness, when you walk confidently in who you were made to be, you give others permission to do the same. Some people will celebrate you, some will envy you, and some will understand you at all. But none of that matters. What matters is that you keep going. Keep using your gift. Keep shining, because at the end of the day, those who envy you don't really have a problem with you. They have a problem with themselves. And that ain't your burden to carry. Life will knock you down. That's a fact. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. You're going to face setbacks, disappointments, betrayals, and moments when you feel like everything is falling apart. That's just how life works. But the difference between you and the people who secretly envy you, you don't stay down. See, most people let failure define them. They get knocked down once and that's it. They quit. They let one rejection, one mistake, one hardship convince them that they aren't meant to win. But you refuse to accept defeat. You might get knocked down 10 times, but you get back up 11. You take the hit, you feel the pain, and then you dust yourself off and keep moving forward. And let me tell you, that right there is what makes people envious. Because deep down, they wish they had that same resilience. People see you go through struggles. They see you face the same challenges they do, but somehow you always bounce back. They don't understand how you do it. They wonder, how do they keep going after everything they've been through? And when they don't have that same strength in themselves, when they've let their failures define them, instead of being inspired, some people get bitter. Because every time you rise, it reminds them that they gave up too soon. What they don't see is what happens behind closed doors. They don't see the nights you stayed up worrying, the prayers you whispered when no one was listening, the battles you fought inside your own mind. They don't see the work, the struggle, the moments when you almost gave up but didn't. All they see is that somehow after every fall, you're standing again. See, some people want life to be easy. They want success without struggle, rewards without risk, victory without battle. But that's not how it works. You understand that every setback is a setup for a comeback. You've learned that pain is part of the process, that every failure carries a lesson, and that the only real defeat is when you stop trying. That's why people secretly envy you, because while they let life break them, you refuse to stay broken. While they make excuses, you make comebacks. And while they sit around wondering why the situation hasn't changed, you're out there fighting for the life you deserve. They may not say it, they may not admit it, but they see you. And deep down, part of them wishes they had what you have, the heart, the strength, the relentless spirit to keep pushing forward no matter what comes your way. But here's the thing, that's not something you're born with. That's something you choose. And every time you choose to get back up, you prove that you built different, There's something about you that doesn't fit the mold. You don't walk like everybody else. You don't talk like everybody else. And you sure don't think like everybody else. You have your own way of doing things, and that makes people uncomfortable. See, most people are wired to follow the crowd. They want to blend in, go with the flow, and do what's safe. They follow trends, seek approval, and make decisions based on what everybody else is doing. But you move different. You don't waste your time trying to fit into spaces that weren't made for you. You've got your own vision, your own mindset, your own path. And because of that, people secretly envy you. See, when you're not predictable, people don't know what to do with you. You don't react the way they expect. You don't follow the same patterns, and you don't need their validation to make a move. That shakes people up. They watch you go left when everybody else is going right, and it frustrates them because deep down they wish they had that kind of confidence. They wish they had the guts to trust their instincts the way you do. But instead of stepping up, instead of finding their own path, some people would rather resent you for having the courage to live on your terms. You don't settle for average, and that alone makes you stand out. While other people are satisfied with good enough, you want more. You refuse to stay in the same place just because it's comfortable. You're willing to take risks, to chase after something bigger, to push past limits. And when people see that, it reminds them of the dreams they abandoned, the potential they never tapped into, and the life they could have had if they weren't so afraid of stepping outside the box. That's why they secretly envy you, because your movement exposes their stagnation. You walk with purpose even when you don't have all the answers. You make decisions that don't always make sense to the outside world, but you don't let that stop you. You're not waiting for permission to go after what you want. You're not sitting around hoping someone gives you the green light. You see an opportunity, you take it. You see a door, you walk through it. And when there's no door, you build one yourself. That type of boldness makes people uncomfortable, because when you're bold, when you're fearless, when you're willing to take a different route, it forces people to look at themselves and question why they still stuck. It forces them to admit that they've been playing it safe. And some people would rather envy you than take responsibility for their own choices. You don't chase clout. You don't follow trends just to fit in. You don't let fear dictate your life, and that's rare. People don't understand how you have the courage to stand alone when they need a crowd to feel secure. They don't get how you trust yourself when they're still waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. They don't know what it's like to move with intention, to make decisions that aren't based on opinions, but on a deep knowing inside of you. But here's the thing. You were never meant to move like everybody else. You were never meant to follow the same patterns, take the same steps, or live the same life as the people around you. You were built to break the mold. And the ones who envy you, they see that. They just don't have the courage to do the same. There's something about you that stands out, even when you're not trying. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to announce yourself. People just feel your presence. It's a kind of energy, a kind of glow that can't be faked or manufactured. And whether you realize it or not, that light inside you is powerful. It draws people in, it inspires them, and sometimes it even makes them uncomfortable. See, not everybody has that kind of light. Some people have spent so long living in negativity, doubt, and fear that they've let their own light fade. They've let life dim them. But you, no matter what you've been through, no matter how many struggles you've faced, your light never goes out. And that's exactly why some people secretly envy you. They see the way you carry yourself, not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence that says you know who you are. They notice the way you walk into a room and shift the energy without even trying. Some people love that about you, and some people resent it, because deep down, it reminds them of something they lost in themselves. Your light isn't just about success or talent. It's deeper than that. It's your spirit. It's the way you keep your head up even when life tries to break you. It's the kindness in your heart, the wisdom in your words, the way you uplift others even when you have every reason to focus on yourself. It's the way you radiate hope, strength, and authenticity in a world that's full of people trying to be something they're not. Some people don't know what to do with that kind of energy. It confuses them, frustrates them, maybe even scares them a little, because when you have light, it does two things. It illuminates and it exposes. It brings warmth to those who need it, but it also exposes the darkness in those who aren't ready to face it. Some people will be drawn to you because of it, and some will envy you because they don't understand why you shine when they feel so stuck in the shadows. And here's the thing, you don't even try to outshine anybody. You're just being you. But when people have spent so much time dimming themselves, seeing someone shine naturally can feel like a threat. They wonder, why do they seem so at peace? Why do they seem so unshaken by the things that break other people? What they don't see is everything you've been through. They don't see the battles you fought, the nights you've cried, the moments you almost let your own light go out, but didn't. They don't realize that your glow isn't just about being happy all the time. It's about resilience. It's about faith. It's about choosing every single day to keep pushing forward, even when things aren't easy. It's about refusing to let this world turn you cold, refusing to let circumstances make you bitter, refusing to let negativity consume you. And that is rare. That's why some people envy you. Because while they've allowed life to make them smaller, you refuse to shrink. While they've let disappointment steal their joy, you still find reasons to smile. While they've given up on believing in themselves, you still walk like you know you were meant for something greater. Some people will try to dim your light because it shines too bright for them to handle. They might talk about you, doubt you, or try to make you question yourself. But that's only because they don't realize they have a light inside them too. They just haven't figured out how to turn it back on yet. You walk through life with a kind of confidence that doesn't need a round of applause. You don't beg for people to notice you, to approve of you, or to tell you that you're enough. You already know you are. And that right there, that's what makes people secretly envy you. Most people are out here living for validation. They need somebody to tell them they're doing a good job. They need someone to clap for them before they feel worthy. They base their whole self-worth on how many likes they get, how many compliments they receive, how much attention they can pull in from the outside world. They change who they are just to fit in, just to be accepted. They shape their lives around what will make other people happy instead of what will make them happy. But you move different. You don't need the world to tell you that you're valuable. You don't need constant approval to believe in yourself. You've learned how to validate yourself, how to trust your own decisions, how to stand firm in who you are, even when nobody else is watching. That's powerful. And let me tell you, people notice it. They see that you don't shrink yourself just to make them comfortable. They see that you don't chase after approval like it's the only thing keeping you going. And for some people, that's inspiring, but for others, it stings. Because deep down, they wish they had that same confidence. They wish they didn't need external validation to feel like they matter. See, when you don't beg for validation, it confuses people who do. They don't understand how you can move through life without needing constant reassurance. They wonder, how are they so sure of themselves? How do they just know they're good enough without someone telling them? What they don't realize is that you've done the inner work. You've built yourself up from the inside out. You've learned to be proud of yourself even when nobody's watching. You don't need a pat on the back to know you're on the right path. You've made peace with the fact that not everybody's going to understand you, not everybody's going to support you, and not everybody is going to like what you do. And you're completely okay with that. Most people live their lives trapped in the fear of what others think. They hold back their dreams because they don't want to be judged. They dim their personalities because they're afraid of standing out. They silence their opinions because they don't want to rock the boat. But not you. You refuse to live that way. You refuse to let fear control you. You refuse to trade authenticity for acceptance. And that's why people secretly envy you, because they've spent their whole lives waiting for someone to tell them they're enough, while you've already decided that for yourself. They're still looking for permission to be themselves, while you're out here living unapologetically. They're still trying to impress people who don't even matter, while you've learned that the only person you need to impress is the one in the mirror. That kind of self-assurance, that kind of independence, that kind of inner peace, it's rare. And when people don't have it, they don't always know how to react to someone who does. Some will admire you, some will try to tear you down, and some will envy you in silence. But at the end of the day, that's not your concern, because you were never meant to live for their approval in the first place. No matter what happens, no matter what obstacles come your way, you just keep finding a way. It doesn't mean life is easy for you. It doesn't mean you don't struggle. It doesn't mean you don't have moments where you feel like giving up. But somehow, some way, you always come out on top. And that's why people secretly envy you. See, most people don't realize that winning isn't about luck. It's about mindset. It's about persistence. It's about refusing to settle for anything less than the life you deserve. A lot of folks want success, but they don't want to do what it takes to earn it. They want the rewards without the sacrifice. They want the victory without the battle. And when they see you winning, when they see you achieving things they only dream about, instead of being inspired, they feel some type of way about it. Because deep down, they know they could be doing more. They know they could have kept pushing, kept trying, kept believing, but they didn't. And your success reminds them of that. What they don't see is everything that goes on behind the scenes. They don't see the long nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices you've made to get where you are. They don't see the moments when you were doubted, rejected, or underestimated. They don't see the times you had to encourage yourself when nobody else believed in you. They don't see the losses you took, the lessons you learned, and the times you had to start over from scratch. All they see is the result, the wins. And because they don't understand the journey, they assume it must have been easy for you. But you know better. You know that winning isn't about never failing. It's about never staying down. It's about taking every setback and using it as fuel to push forward. It's about learning from your mistakes, growing through your struggles, and coming back stronger every single time. That's what makes you different. That's what separates you from the ones who quit when things got tough. Some people think winning is about having more money, more status, more recognition. But real winning is about becoming more, becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming the kind of person who doesn't fold under pressure, who doesn't break when life gets hard, who doesn't let fear stop them from chasing what's theirs. That's the kind of winning you do. And let's be real, some people don't like that. They don't like seeing you succeed while they're still stuck in the same place. They don't like seeing you elevate while they're still making excuses. It's not that they hate you. They hate what your success makes them realize about themselves. Because if you can win despite all the challenges you faced, then what's stopping them? You keep winning because you refuse to accept defeat. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for the right moment. You don't let doubt, fear, or the opinions of others dictate what you can and can't achieve. You make moves. You take action. You bet on yourself. And when people see that, when they see you rising, leveling up, reaching goals they never had the courage to chase, that's when the envy starts to creep in. But here's the truth. They could win too. They just have to be willing to do what you've done. They have to be willing to fail, to struggle, to sacrifice, to keep going when everything in them wants to quit. But instead of doing that, some of them would rather sit on the sidelines and watch you shine. They'd rather assume you had an advantage instead of admitting that they held themselves back. That's not your problem, though. You didn't come this far to dim your light for anybody. You didn't put in all that work just to make other people comfortable. You keep winning because you've earned it. And no matter how people feel about it, that's not going to change. Most people live their whole lives terrified of failure. They tiptoe through life trying to avoid mistakes, trying to avoid looking foolish, trying to avoid anything that might make them uncomfortable. They would rather stay in their comfort zone, playing it safe, never taking risk, because to them failing means they aren't good enough. It means they should stop trying. It means they should quit. But you move differently. You're not afraid to fail. You don't let the fear of falling stop you from walking. You don't let the fear of losing stop you from playing the game. And that right there, that's why people secretly envy you. See, failure is a part of success. You can't separate the two. Every person who's ever wanted anything has failed at some point. Every champion has lost. Every successful person has faced rejection. But most people don't want to go through that part. They want the reward without the risk. They want the glory without the grind. They want to win, but they're too scared to lose. And when they see you moving boldly, when they see you going after what you want without hesitation, even when there's a chance it might not work out, they wonder, how do they do it? How do they keep going without fear? What they don't realize is that it's not that you never feel fear. It's that you don't let fear stop you. You've learned that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. You understand that every mistake, every setback, every moment where things don't go as planned is actually pushing you forward. While other people see failure as the end, you see it as a lesson. While they let failure break them, you let it build you. You've probably failed more times than they've even tried. That's the difference. While they sit around waiting for the perfect time, waiting until they want 100% ready, waiting for someone to guarantee them a win, you're already out there taking action. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you fall flat on your face. Sometimes things don't go the way you expected. But instead of quitting, instead of throwing in the towel, you dust yourself off and try again and again and again. And that's what separates you from the rest. People don't realize that failure is a test. Life is constantly asking, how bad do you really want it? And most people, they don't want it bad enough. The moment they hit a roadblock, the moment they get rejected, the moment they fail, they take it as a sign to stop. They let one no stop them from ever trying again. They let one mistake convince them they're not meant for greatness. But you keep pushing. You keep showing up. You keep swinging, knowing that eventually you're going to hit. And that's why people secretly envy you, because deep down they wish they had that same resilience. They wish they had the courage to go after something without needing a guarantee. They wish they had the strength to take a loss and keep moving forward. But instead of learning from you, instead of using your example to push themselves, some of them just sit back and resent you. They say you got lucky. They say you have something special that they don't. They make excuses for why you win and they don't. But the truth is, the only difference between you and them is that you're willing to fail your way to success while they're too scared to even start. What they don't understand is that fear of failure is what keeps most people stuck. They could have the talent, the intelligence, the potential, but if they're too afraid to fail, they'll never unlock it. They'll never take the risks that lead to rewards. They'll never step out on faith and see what they're truly capable of. And the sad part, they'll spend their whole lives wondering what could have been if only they had the courage to do what you do. But you'll never have that regret. Because you don't let failure define you, you don't let fear control you, and because of that, you'll always be ahead of the ones who are too scared to even try. No matter what's going on around you, no matter how loud the noise gets, no matter how crazy life becomes, you've got this unshakable peace inside you. It's not that life doesn't throw storms your way. It does. Just like everybody else, you deal with setbacks, disappointments, and unexpected chaos. But somehow, you don't let it rattle you the way it rattles other people. You don't panic. You don't break down. You don't let the pressure get to you. And that's what makes people secretly envy you. See, most people don't know how to handle chaos. The moment life throws them a curveball, they crumble. They let stress consume them. They let problems control their emotions. They go into panic mode, losing their focus, their patience, and sometimes even their hope. But you move differently. When things start falling apart, you don't fall apart with them. You stay centered, you stay focused. You keep your mind clear and your spirit calm even when everything around you is trying to shake you. And people don't understand how you do it. They wonder, how are they so calm? How do they stay so composed when I be losing my mind? What they don't realize is that your peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. You've built something inside yourself that the world can't touch. It's not that you don't feel stress or frustration. It's that you refuse to let it control you. You refuse to let temporary chaos steal your long-term peace. That kind of mindset, that kind of stability is rare because most people are at the mercy of their emotions. Their mood depends on what's happening around them. If things are good, they feel good. If things go wrong, they fall apart. But you don't give outside circumstances that kind of power over you. You've learned that peace isn't about everything being perfect. It's about how you respond when things aren't. And let's be real, some people don't like that. They don't like that you can keep your head up when they losing theirs. They don't like that you don't get caught up in the drama, the gossip, the negativity that consumes them. It makes them uncomfortable. Because when they see you standing strong in the middle of a storm, it reminds them that they haven't mastered that level of control over their own lives. But what they don't see is what it took for you to get to this place. You weren't always this calm. You weren't always this strong. You've been through things that should have broken you. You've had moments when life almost got the best of you. You've had seasons where everything was chaotic and you did feel lost. But through it all, you learned something. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you face it. You've trained yourself to respond instead of react. You've learned that most things that stress people out aren't even worth their energy. You've realized that problems will come and go, but your peace is something you have to protect. And that's why you don't let every little thing shake you. People who haven't found that kind of peace don't know how to handle someone who has. They'll try to drag you into their chaos. They'll try to test you, to push your buttons to see if they can break that calm spirit of yours. And when they can't, when they see that you don't fold under pressure the way they do, that's when the envy sets in. Because deep down, they wish they had what you have. They wish they could move through life with that same kind of confidence and control. They wish they didn't get so easily shaken by every little problem. But instead of learning from you, instead of asking, how do I get that kind of peace, some people will just resent you for having it. But that's not your problem. You've worked too hard to get here. You've learned how to choose peace over panic, growth over drama, and clarity over confusion. And because of that, no matter what life throws your way, you'll always rise above the chaos. You are not the same person you were last year, last month, or even last week. Every day you're evolving, you're learning, you're stretching yourself beyond limits that once seemed impossible. You refuse to stay stagnant. You refuse to settle. You refuse to get comfortable in the same place for too long. And that's why people secretly envy you. See, most people don't like change. They fear it. They resist it. They hold on to old habits, old mindsets, and old ways of living because it's familiar. It's safe. Growth requires discomfort. And let's be honest, most people aren't willing to go through that. They would rather stay in the same cycle, doing the same things, getting the same results, than push themselves towards something greater. But you see life differently. You understand that growth isn't an option, it's a necessity. You know that if you're not growing, you're not truly living. That's what sets you apart. You don't just talk about change, you become it. While others are making excuses, you're making progress. While they're waiting for the right time, you're already taking action. And because of that, people don't always know how to handle you. Some admire you for it. They look at you and think, wow, I wish I had that drive, that determination, that hunger for more. But others feel uncomfortable because when they see you growing, it forces them to look at themselves. And not everyone likes what they see. Some people want you to stay the same because it makes them feel better about standing still. When you start to elevate, when you start breaking out of the mold they placed you in, it reminds them that they could be doing more, but they're not. And instead of using that as motivation, they turn it into envy. They wonder, why do they keep leveling up while I feel stuck? They convince themselves that you had it easier, that you were lucky, that you had an advantage. But the truth is, the only difference is that you chose growth and they chose comfort. What they don't see is the work it takes to keep growing. They don't see the late nights, the sacrifices, the self-reflection. They don't see the moments of doubt, the times you had to push through fear, the times you had to unlearn old patterns that were holding you back. Growth isn't easy. It's painful. It forces you to confront parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. It makes you step outside your comfort zone over and over again. It requires discipline, patience, and a willingness to fail. And you embrace all of that because you know that every challenge, every setback, and every uncomfortable moment is shaping you into something greater. And let's not forget, growth means leaving people behind sometimes. That's one of the hardest parts. Not everyone is meant to go with you to the next level. Some people are comfortable where they are, and they don't want to see you move ahead. They'll try to hold you back, try to guilt you into staying the same, try to make you feel bad for wanting more. But you've learned that your growth is non-negotiable. You've worked too hard to let someone else's fears stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you unstoppable. While most people are afraid of change, you embrace it. While they cling to what's comfortable, you chase what's possible. While they stay in the same place, you keep moving forward. And because of that, no matter what happens, you'll always be ahead of the ones who are too scared to grow. You walk into a room and people notice. Not because you're loud, not because you're trying to take up space, but because there's something about you that just shines. There's an energy, a confidence, a presence that makes people pay attention. You don't shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. You don't water yourself down so people won't feel insecure around you. You don't hide your talents, your intelligence, your ambition, or your joy just to fit in. And that's why people secretly envy you. See, most people spend their lives dimming their own light. They tone themselves down because they're afraid of standing out. They hold back because they don't want to be judged. They stay quiet when they have something to say. They play small when they have something to offer. And they settle for less than they deserve just so they don't make waves. And why? Because they're afraid of what people will think, afraid of being too much, afraid of making others uncomfortable. But you refuse to live like that. You refuse to make yourself smaller just so other people can feel bigger. You refuse to silence your voice just because some people can't handle the truth. You refuse to apologize for being gifted, for being driven, for being the kind of person who goes after what they want with everything they've got. You weren't put here to blend in. You weren't put here to stay in the background. You were put here to shine, to lead, to inspire, and to become everything you were meant to be. And that intimidates people because when you shine, you force them to see the parts of themselves they've been neglecting. You remind them of the dreams they gave up on, the risks they were too scared to take, the potential they never fully tapped into. And instead of being inspired by your light, some people will resent it. They'll try to dim it, not because they don't like you, but because they don't like what your confidence makes them realize about themselves. They'll tell you that you're too much. They'll call you arrogant when you're just self-assured. They'll call you lucky when you've worked for everything you have. They'll try to downplay your success, your skills, your hard work, just so they can feel better about not doing the same for themselves. And the sad part, a lot of people fall for it. A lot of people let the criticism get to them. They start shrinking, start second-guessing themselves, start holding back just to make others more comfortable, but not you. You've learned that dimming your light doesn't do anything for anyone. It doesn't make the world a better place. It doesn't help anybody grow. It doesn't make life any easier. All it does is rob you of your power, your potential, and your purpose. And you refuse to live like that. You weren't given your talents, your passion, your drive just to hide them. You weren't given your unique vision just to keep it to yourself. You weren't meant to be average. You weren't meant to be ordinary. And you sure weren't meant to shrink yourself just so insecure people can feel better about staying where they are. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you unstoppable. While most people spend their whole lives trying to blend in, you out here standing tall. While they let fear and doubt keep them in the shadows, you're walking boldly in your purpose. And that's why your light will never go out, no matter how many people wish it would. So let them envy, let them whisper, let them wonder how you do it. Because at the end of the day, their opinions don't pay your bills. Their doubts don't determine your destiny. Their insecurities are not your responsibility. You were not put here to shrink, to hide, or to live for someone else's approval. You were put here to shine, to grow, to rise, and to keep becoming everything you were meant to be. So keep moving the way you move, keep winning the way you win, keep standing tall even when others try to tear you down. Because the right people, they won't be threatened by your greatness, they'll be inspired by it. And the ones who can't handle your light, well, that's their problem, not yours.